And now continuing with this section, we're going to go on to summer wrap-up because we all watched, well, mainly me and Dawson watched a lot of anime over the summer, specifically just during the seasons.
I'm just chasing a shower in here, so I gotta stay.
Connor actually has some input on some of these at some points. Well, let me
maybe one or two.
Yeah,
Have a
you're
little bit.
right. Yeah, you're right. There's one or two with Connor's name on it. Just, we're going to try to do this really quick, trying to just do our quick opinions, not any full-length things, and,
We'll machine gun it.
That was called shotgun it.
Speaking of machine guns, the first anime on our list is
He still segues off it. He's all pissed about it, and then he uses it.
You have to. I set it up so that regardless of what happens, you have to go up.
So with that, the first anime on this list is Ahori X Machine Gun, I believe. There's another one, I think Kinkanjo is the Japanese translation. I'm the only one who watched this season because I watched, I think, 18. Dawson watched less than that. Connor watched like 2.
I didn't count. I was just kind of all over the place.
But Ahori X Machine Gun, quick synopsis is that it's about this girl who ends up getting into survival games with her neighbors. Survival games are basically people playing airsoft. This anime is super ridiculous. Not the best anime of the season. It's kind of boring at times. It's kind of interesting at times. Main characters are psychotic. The other characters, one's a playboy, and the other one is a hentai writer. It has some good moments, but besides that, I can't recommend this one. They left it up where they're like, oh, there could be a season 2. Don't think that'll ever happen. Okay, next on our list is something that I finished. Dawson didn't finish. You watched most of it, and I phoned you in, and Connor watched the last episode of, and we might actually spend a little bit of time on this. And the next one on our list is Charlotte. The story of a boy who basically finds out that he has an incomplete power to take over people's bodies, and discovers other people have incomplete powers as well.
Yeah.
Being as vague as possible because, this is just summer wrap-up. We're not going to try to spoil or anything.
So I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah. This is going to be quick. Let me just say, based off the description, I was like, okay, I might watch this. And I watched the first episode, and I was not inclined nor impressed towards it at all. It's pretty. It's pretty. I'll give you that. And I usually like pretty stuff. But this wasn't even pretty enough to make me really want to keep watching.
It's by the same guy who made Angel Beats, too.
Yeah, same studio that made Angel Beats.
No, same guy who wrote
same guy who wrote Angel Beats? Okay.
Yeah, June Maeda's Wild Ride.
Well, look at that.
But...
You can tell.
If you haven't seen it already, a lot of people say it's one of the more disappointing animes of the season. We discussed this a little bit, but in our opinions, again, being spoiler, is that there's like 4 different storylines in this anime. If they just stopped and just took one.
Yeah. There's a lot of material there, some of which is pretty decent and could be interesting. And if they just took one of those and they went off and they made something about that, it would probably be pretty good. But it just jumped around too much.
Too many characters, didn't focus on a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of... a bunch of two-dimensional characters weren't really described in it.
Yeah, I really didn't enjoy the little sister character, personally.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be one of the catalysts of it.
Yeah.
Connor, what did you think about the last episode?
I didn't really agree with his decision or what he was trying to do, but I thought it was a pretty interesting sort of... Like, I thought it could have been a really cool short film, in a way.
If it was more than 20 minutes?
If it was sort of its own thing, it would have been a lot of fun. But apparently, they kind of just drop every other character for that last part. They're just like, no, we're just going to totally ignore everyone else, and it's just going to be MC and a bunch of random characters.
Yeah. You might like Charlotte. I didn't like Charlotte.
I thought it was pretty
I
disappointing.
don't think you liked Charlotte.
I liked it, and then it dropped the ball super hard. I started to like it around episode 5, and then I stopped liking it.
When was it that you wanted me to catch up with
Around
Charlotte?
5 or 6.
Around 5 or 6, I caught back up with it. Because Andrew wanted me to.
And it showed some promise, right?
It might have.
It kind of showed some promise.
It could have done something.
And then it dropped the ball super hard.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, next one on the list is Classroom Crisis. It's about a business. Best way to describe this is about a class who basically works on rockets. And they're basically these prodigies that are in high school that basically design rockets for a company. And they're technically employees for the company and stuff like that. And the whole anime revolves around business, politics, and a lot of interesting things and characters as well. In my opinion, this is a must-watch of the summer season. I keep telling Dawson to watch it.
It's going to be a while before I do.
The problem with this anime is that it has a really slow start. But once it gets going, oh my god, is it one of the best ones of the season. Like, it's top 4 of what I watched. Like, I can't harp on how great it was. The music was just great. Animation was decent. But the main part was the story, the politics, and the business. Moving on, Durara X10. You've seen 1 episode. You've seen 1 episode. I've seen the whole season.
I've seen 2, I think.
You've seen 2. So you guys we had a little bit of an argument about this last night. I think this is one of the best seasons and one of the best openings they've had.
Let me start by saying I haven't watched Durara yet because Durara is a show I've discovered I cannot watch while it's airing.
You watched the other 2 seasons.
I watched the other 2 seasons, and I watched the end of the last season while it was airing, and it was very difficult for me to keep track of what was going on with that much of a time jump between when I was watching each episode. So I decided for this one, I was just going to wait and watch it all in one go. From what I saw, the opening specifically, Andrew says it grew on him.
It literally
grew on him.
It grows on like everyone in the fan base who watched Durara was literally like, I hated this opening.
See myself liking it.
No one thought about that. Then 5 or 6 episodes, it just clicked, and everyone's like,
maybe at some point I'll like it, but I can almost guarantee you, specifically the second opening for the original Duraras, I cannot see it surpassing that.
The thing is, the opening goes really well with the season, where as you're watching the season, it just matches perfectly with the tone that the season has.
Huh.
And that's why a lot of people started enjoying it, is because as you watch the tone and a lot of things going on in the show, it matches almost perfectly to that opening. And then, like, as you go along, you go, yeah, I dig this opening. I mean, I can't say, like, it's my favorite because there's a lot of things going on in it, and I like kind of the type of music that does that. But in my opinion, like, this has been one of the best seasons of Durara. I can't wait for the last season because that last season is going to finally conclude everything, and I can't wait for you guys to watch it because there's some drops and twists, and everything is just, it's so good. Like, there's so many reveals in this season that just, like, you sit there going like, ooh, I didn't see that coming.
I'll just wait for the dub to catch up.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that when I watch it.
Yeah. Next one is Gakko Gurushi. You watched the first episode. You got about halfway
through it.
I watched all of it. I say you can watch those last ones, but in my opinion,
I don't plan on watching the last ones. From what I watched, I'm not going to spoil anything on Gakko Gurushi because the first episode,
it's a slice of life moe. All you have to know,
experience in itself.
It's a slice of life moe, and it's probably one of the best.
I'm just gonna say, it tries to do 2 genres and mix them together in an interesting way, and I think it fails at that.
I think the problem is that it picks up towards the end. Again, it's one of those issues where, like, the minute they walk into the mall is where I started to like it more. Did you get to the mall?
I got to the mall,
okay.
And I didn't like the mall very much. Honestly, I didn't like much. I didn't like pretty much anything of Gakko Gurushi that I saw. I kind of liked Shovel Girl, and that was about it.
Anyway,
moving away from the Moe blob.
Yeah, moving away from Moe blob. The next one is Gangsta. I got about 5 episodes in and then just stopped watching it for some reason. From what I watched, it was pretty interesting, but from what I heard, it got really disappointing towards the end, so I don't think I'm going to ever pick that back up.
As we mentioned earlier, this is probably the show that killed Manga Glow.
Gangsta. It started really interesting. It was like, Samurai Champloo with Mafia, and then apparently it went weird. I don't know what happened to it, but I just stopped. Next up is Gatchaman Crowd's Insight, which is the most hidden gem of the season. Probably one of the best animes I've seen, one of my favorites. Overall, it's the second season of Gatchaman Crowd, so if you haven't seen the first season, I highly suggest it. It's a lot about politics, unity, and what it means to be a hero. It's a lot different than what you expect it to be, because you think it's like a hero anime where it's like a bunch of people who wear suits and like fight aliens. Not really. It's a lot of talking and a lot of philosophy and psychology on what it means to be a hero and what, how the world should work. Our next up is Gate, which all three of us have watched. I'm one episode back. You're 2 episodes back. You're complete.
I finished Gate. Finish Gate.
Finish
put
Gate.
air quotes on that. For those of you who don't know, Gate was supposed to be a 24 episode.
And then they cut it halfway.
Yeah.
And then
it's been cut off at 12 and is going to continue with the next 12 episodes.
in the next season.
In the next season. Not fall, but
winter.
So, honestly, Gate was very enjoyable, but it hasn't ended.
Yeah.
This last episode
We're still on
didn't feel anything
We're still
like
on the fence of we're going to talk about this, so we're not going to talk a lot about this.
Yeah.
What do you think, Connor? What do you think about Gate?
I enjoy all the weeaboo jokes. I'm not so big on the Japanese nationalism.
I like the politics. I really enjoyed the politics.
I found the setting extremely interesting. Like basically the whole point of the show is a gate opens up in the middle of Japan that leads to some fantastical world, and the Japanese Defense Force
fights it,
goes through,
They
fights
go
it
in
off,
and
and
they
then
wreck
goes
everyone.
in. Yeah,
it's the best way to say it. It's you're playing Civ 5 and you're ahead of the other players by like two ages, and you're like in the industrial age and they're still in the medieval age, and
Which
you
is
go to fight
interesting,
them.
but then they come out of the gate and then Japanese are still wrecking everybody.
Yeah.
In the real world, it's like really.
They were snipers and guerrilla fighting.
You're spoiling more than I did. Stop.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there were snipers, guerrilla fighters, and there was multiple parties involved.
Yes, multiple parties,
Yeah.
all of which Japan just totally stomped.
Let's just say
Not
Gate
like
is,
they're superpowers or anything.
Gate is very interesting, but it's not finished yet, so we can't really judge it on what we've seen as.
But we highly
It's
suggest it.
not completed.
Highly
But
suggest
I
it.
would definitely suggest it.
It's a lot of fun.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It's interesting to watch.
So far on our list, just as a catch up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 suggestions out of
6.
6.
Or
No,
7.
no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of. Did I say 4 suggestions?
Gate is the first thing I've suggested yet, as I haven't watched most of the other ones.
Yeah, so 4 out of 8 has been suggested so far. Next, we move on to God Eater, which is not done either yet. I have not yet to pick up the last couple episodes.
The animation is quite poor, but
It argues that it's quite poor, or the best animation ever.
From what I've seen, I haven't watched a lot of it, but
You don't
I
have
found
to.
the animation to be like, you showed me your favorite fight scene from it,
Yeah.
and it was just so slow and awkward.
No, not as slow as what's coming up later. But what I have to say about God Eaters is play Monster Hunter.
Just play Monster
Just play
Hunter
Monster Hunter.
instead.
Just play Monster Hunter. You'll have a lot better time playing Monster Hunter. The problem with God Eater is that they took so long to do a lot of the production, so they delayed a lot of episodes. Other things came up, so they delayed it. So basically, they only showed 9 episodes. So the last 3 episodes will be aired at some point during the winter. Can't suggest this one. Just play Monster Hunter. Next one is Jutsuwa wa Tashiwa. Again, we're a little bit on the fence if we're actually going to ever talk about this. We don't know. Because the problem is, me and Dawson have both read the manga. Because we both enjoyed the anime at the beginning.
Yeah.
Anime was really
It's got
good.
a great opening.
Great
one of my
one of the-
top 3 of the
one
season,
of the best openings.
I'd say.
It grew on you.
Yeah.
One of the best openings of the season. Really funny, really heartwarming. But our suggestion, just read the manga.
Yeah,
Just
this
read the
is
manga.
a case where, as decent as the show is, there's not any reason besides the opening to watch it instead of read it.
Yeah, the manga's translated 90 chapters in. It's not that long of a read. You could do it in a day.
Yeah.
And
Quick
you'll-
note on that, the art style gets better. In the
it-
manga, it starts out a little shaky, but he builds
it's
it.
so
good.
heartwarming, and it just becomes really happy, and you kind of just have this kind of smile as you're reading it, and you're laughing
It's
along.
very enjoyable.
The next one on our list is Oh, this is a long name. It's like Jokomachi Dandelion or something, but the best one, I think the English translation is the Kingdom of Dandelions.
Yeah.
Basically, it's about this royalty. There's 9 princes and princesses, and all of them have superpowers, and all of them all of them are trying to be king through an election. It's like Game of Thrones, except everybody likes them. Likes each other.
No, isn't it more? I'd say it's more like more like Arrested Development.
Except everyone likes each other. Yeah.
Except everyone likes each other. Game of Thrones, it's nothing like.
Yeah, that's true. I just remembered this. I'm just gonna put it in since we're doing this in alphabetical order, and I totally forgot about this to add this. But I watch Arzon Seki. Is that great? I think it's amazing. I think it's it's basically this medieval story about this guy who loses this prince who loses his kingdom and is trying to fight his way back. The characters designs by the person who did Fullmetal Alchemist, amazing.
It's Fire Emblem the anime.
I have to disagree with you, like, at some points. I do have to say, yes, it's kind of like Fire Emblem the anime, but it also combines a lot of other things. That's not only Fire Emblem, where I could even say it's kind of like Code Geass, combined with Fire Emblem, combined with Medieval Crusades, with a little bit of Berserk in there. With Fullmetal Alchemist designs. So I highly suggest Arzon Seki. Some people might argue that it kind of drops off toward the end. In my opinion, I like the later half than the beginning half.
Okay.
Moving on to Dawson, Prison School.
Okay, so Prison School for me is a very similar case to how I feel about Jitsuwa Watashiwa. Both of them, like, you can watch the anime for, but there's really no reason that you should be watching it over reading it. The manga version's just better.
Unless you need more visual stimulation. Yeah, it goes further. It doesn't leave out as much stuff. I mean, it's still good. Okay, the uncensored version's pretty decent.
I know, but I'm just saying, there's no light bars.
Don't watch it. If you're watching Prison School censored, I don't know.
It's like watching Okusama.
Do that.
It's like watching Okusama censored.
Yeah. Basically, Prison School's decent, but do yourself a favor and
read the
manga. You'll feel terrible about yourself afterwards, and understandably dirty and just kind of awkward, but it's worth it. It's enjoyable.
I dropped it.
I liked it. Connor dropped it.
So that's another recommendation.
I thought it was great, but I would recommend specifically the manga over the anime.
Yeah, so that's another recommendation down in your bucket. Another one I would have to say. Oh, so if it wasn't clear, I suggest Arzon Seki, and we also suggest Dandelion. You like Dandelion, right?
I enjoyed Dandelion. I never finished Dandelion.
I highly suggest you finish it because it gets really heartwarming at the end. Okay. And it actually finishes. It actually has a complete story.
Okay.
Moving on to my most hated anime of the season, where you constantly tell me about Absolute Duo and how that's the worst anime you've ever watched. This is my Absolute Duo.
Yeah, let me explain my thoughts on Absolute Duo real quick. This will take like a second. Basically, one of the first times I was going through and I decided to watch something as it was airing, because that's like not something I usually had considered doing. I was just watching a ton of anime that had already been out, and I was like, okay, Absolute Duo is airing right now. There's only 2 episodes out at this point, and I watched both of them, and I was like, I mean, this isn't the greatest thing ever, but it could be interesting. Like,
and then
I like Soul Eater. Maybe I'll like this. And it just got progressively worse and worse and worse, and just let me down at every single turn until it crescendoed in this, like, terrible, terrible ending. There's no reason to watch Absolute Duo unless you want to really understand what bad writing is.
Yeah.
But that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, this is my... I don't know if I could say this is my Absolute Duo, because I just realized I started liking it towards the end, and I think it's kind of because I started getting masochistic about this anime.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Kusumadoshi Kusen, or Sky Wizard Academy, basically is about this dude who's called the Traitor, and he basically has to teach the worst class, and, like, they're very dysfunctional, and it's super generic. It's a harem-ish. It's... There's a scene where there's literally, like, a fight scene where the frame rate's about 5 frames per second.
MC doesn't deserve any of the shit he gets, from what I saw.
Yeah, basically, MC constantly gets like everyone hates MC, but he's actually a really good guy. But he doesn't care, so he just like lets them all rat on him. Next up on the list is something we watched.
Non Biori repeat second season. If you have, okay, so this is highly up there in some of the best feel good slice of life slow comedies out there. It's relaxing, has my favorite opening of the season. Like, when else are you going to hear banjo in your anime openings? I don't know, this is the only place I've seen it, heard it. But I found it extremely enjoyable. But if you didn't like the first season of Non Biori, you're not going to like the second season, quite obviously. It's definitely not for everyone. A lot of people find it really slow and feel like absolutely nothing's happening. But for me, it's one of the best ways to relax after a hard day. Yeah, I would suggest it, but if you don't like slice of life, please don't try to watch it. Nobody's going to be happy if you do.
Next up is Rampo Kitan, Game of Late Place. Wow, was this a surprise of the season, in my opinion. You guys have yet to see it. I saw all of it, all 11 episodes, and the best way I could describe it is it has one of the most interesting storytellings that I've ever seen. I've described it to you guys. It's basically you're watching an anime, and then at some point it becomes like a stage play, and you just go, whoa, what are you doing? But the way that they're able to do it, the way the directing works, it's a trip. And it's an interesting trip. And, is it dark? It's really dark. It's, okay, I'm not saying it's really dark, but there was moments where bodily harm happens on characters, and you kind of have to cringe in your seat because you're just like, oh, that's really bad. Like, the worst thing ever happens to a little girl that I've ever heard of. There could be worse.
I think you skipped over some panels in Berserk.
I don't know. This one involves cement. I'm just going to say that. But I highly suggest Rampo Game of Late Place. It's not the best anime I've seen. But if you want an interesting storytelling, really good atmosphere, and just overall a dark tone, watch it.
Actually, no. What I should have said is he didn't watch Elfen Lied all the way.
Yeah, I'm not watching that edgy stuff. Next on the list is Roku no Yusha, which I described earlier. I really like this anime. The quality kind of drops off a little bit, but overall, the story, the characters are all interesting enough to make me read the light novels. It's kind of the best way to explain it is it starts as generic fantasy of like hero is going to fight a demon king, and then it becomes Danganronpa as like people are basically trying to figure out who's the killer. Next one will be quick because we talked about this last week. Shimonetta. Do you recommend this?
Yes.
Yes.
Watch Shimonetta if you want some fun, ecchi comedy.
Yep. With really juvenile but funny humor.
Yeah.
And again on the next
and also
one.
a crazy girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next one on the list, we just talked about this today.
Let's just talk about working.
Working. Do you recommend this?
Yes.
To move on.
Yeah, we're done. Shokugeki no Soma. Okay, so this is technically something that started airing last season, but it finished up this season, so I've decided...
It's technically summer, don't worry. Ours on technically summer.
I don't consider neither of them summer. They're still spring, but we're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because it finished. Shokugeki no Soma is like you take a stereotypical shonen and you make it about cooking food and add a little bit of ecchi in there, and somehow it just... This is saying a lot, but it's I've felt more hype for this show than I have for any other show I've watched. Like, if nothing else, Shokugeki knows how to build hype in an extremely enjoyable way. It's got funny characters, they interact well. I'm definitely going to read the manga really soon here. As soon as I get a chance, I need to finish a few things first.
UQ Holder.
Yeah, UQ Holder needs to happen. Plus, there's something else on my backlist, too. But what I recommend most definitely. It's hilarious. It's funny. It's fun. There's no reason not to watch Shokugeki.
And fun.
It's not as repetitive as I am.
You can keep going. From
Oh yeah, and,
take the reins.
Okay, this I'm gonna not talk about for very long. Ore Monogatari, also another anime that started last season and
how heartwarming is it?
Finishing up this one, I haven't finished it, so I can't comment on the ending.
Are
I
they
don't
the
know
best
how
couple
that
then?
important that is, but basically it is an extremely cute anime about basically a very stereotypical side character being the main character, and
then
your
a cinnamon
usual
one.
your usual like shoujo main character or main male character is the best friend character in this case. Just kind of switches around the roles, and it's extremely. It just feels good. There's nothing else that quite. I mean, it's gonna give you diabetes. Like, it's that sweet, but it's really nice to watch. And from this point, I don't have much more to say about it because I haven't finished it. But I would recommend.
Are they the best couple
I've
though?
seen. I mean, they're a great couple, but they're not the best couple. There's a lot more couples that deserve more praise than them. But next we have, oh God, I don't even know how to pronounce this.
You've been saying it all the time.
Denshi guy?
Yeah.
That's totally wrong.
We're
just gonna roll with that.
On the list of like on the border incest, following Dandelion.
Basically, it's a series of 3-minute shorts that are about this dude that lives with his sisters, his 4 sisters, and it's what happens to them. It's not good by any means. There's really no reason to watch it unless you feel like watching a series of 3-minute shorts, and if you want to do that, I can think of at least 2 better options off the top of my head.
So it's basically like if working just focused on the Takahashi family.
Not even. It's like, I don't even know what it is. It's got rip-off characters, like one of the sisters is basically just a worse version of Renge from Non-Non-Biori. But I enjoyed it because the main voice actor for the dude was the same guy who voices Toma in A Certain Magical Index. And
you and your Toma, like...
Dude, Toma's awesome, and his voice actor is extremely unique, and I enjoy him. But would I recommend? No. But I mean, if you want to kill some time, why not? Just go for it. And last but not least, we have Okusama, which Andrew and I have both read. Yeah.
You mean watched? I've read.
You've read. I have not read. I've watched.
I feel the same way as, like, I felt kind of dirty after reading this. Like, I sat down and read it all in one sitting, and I was like, man, I kind of feel a little dirty after this. It's not as dirty as, like, prison school.
I can't imagine it coming anywhere close to prison school.
It's not close to it, but, like, it's the most on-the-border hentai I've ever seen.
That's not quite there.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, there's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of, like, it's so much, like, and...
It's good to shock your friends with it.
Yeah, it's basically, it feels like you're watching, it's a series of 8-minute...
No, that's what it is, though, isn't it?
No, it's basically somebody set up a hentai, and
then
he didn't quite go all the way through with it. It's basically, I mean, maybe in what you read, if you read the manga for it, he did, but in the show, he didn't quite go all the way with it.
Dude, manga is literally scene for panel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, you could pick up, like, at, like, chapter 10 or something, and, like, you'll be, like, scene for panel.
Basically, you're watching a hentai plot where they don't actually do it.
Yeah. But it's actually really enjoyable and kind of heartwarming at times. I liked it because I really I enjoy the characters. I at least enjoyed the class prez, and I liked the parents.
Yeah.
So.
There's a college humor series.
Also, I love
Porn Without Porn or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's totally what it reminded me of.
Oh, not Safe for Work porn.
No, isn't Safe for Work porn where they take porn and then they just put images over it?
No, they use MS Paint.
Yeah, no, that's not the same thing.
Okay. But anyway, I love the main. I love the thing, and also I love the 2 characters who are basically Kuriko from Railgun.
She's not even though.
No, the
only
thing.
bad
No.
Kuriko because they fucked her up in the manga.
Yeah, but
I mean,
yeah.
no, not in the manga, in the
Yeah.
anime version. I
But, like-
don't want to get into this.
But like honestly, like in the manga they go like full on more and like. But anyway, I kind of suggested this, not the anime. I suggest the manga because it's just kind of it's a nice fun read if you just kind of want to just like sit down and just read something ecky.
Yeah, I have no reason to suggest this. If for some reason you're gonna watch it,
Watch
sure
the
you're not
uncensored
watching
version.
the censored version.
Because those censored versions are hilarious.
Yeah, you'll know because you'll have voices over some really weird
Cut out characters.
cut out characters
My favorite-
going on.
My favorite one is they're in the hotel, and then like the toy goes down, like the toy accidentally like falls into the person's like bra, and then it just cuts to like cut out characters of them on a cat running around.
Yeah, it's really weird censorship. It's
Like,
just strange.
okay,
You should watch it with the censors, and that sounds interesting.
Yeah, honestly, it might be more interesting with the censorship. I mean,
That is
depends on-
true. That is true. It's the equivalent of like the Shimonetta censorship.
Yeah.
But that's all what we like basically mostly completed and got over like one episode of. We have a couple that we kind of just watched one episode of. I watched Akame no Shiryuki, I believe that's what it was. I only watched one episode of this. All I could say is that this is the Disney equivalent of anime, like anime equivalent of a Disney movie. Next up is Chaos Dragon. What do you have to say about Chaos
We
Dragon?
didn't even watch it. We just turned it on in the background because we're like, oh man, everyone hates this show.
And then the first scene came up, and
So much CGI at like 15 frames per second. It was the weirdest thing.
and then we saw it, and we're just like, man, I can understand. I can understand.
And that
why
was
this
just the
is-
intro.
Yeah.
Apparently the story's
Overlord.
even worse.
Oh man. How about Overlord?
Ultimate Escapism. Andrew couldn't watch it because he was too paranoid about Sword Art.
Yeah, and you can't watch anything centered around being in a video game.
Because Sword Art ruined that genre for me.
I think it's a decent genre. So I mean, Sword Art's pretty
Okay.
bad.
I mean, if
And-
you ever wanted to see Sword Art after if the guy was like a guild leader and basically had beaten the entire MMO, that's kind of where it is at the pilot.
Yeah. And so our last one is we had some
Wow,
words
that's a
about.
beautiful miss.
I know, right? We had some words about this. We had some words about this earlier. I'm gonna step out because I absolutely did not want to touch this anime, Monster Musume.
I didn't want to touch it.
Honestly,
You guys
there's
have your
not much to
conversation.
talk about because I've only watched one episode, and Connor
despite what I said, the first Never
Connor
mind.
refuses to watch it because
Well,
reasons.
Connor, you have a reason. What is your reason?
I don't know. There's so many. First of all, like it seems to have like all the tropes that a lot of bad animes have. Just by watching certain clips, you can kind of feel like they're filling out a little checklist of all the weird shit the characters can do. Also, they're kind of out of their element. This is like Gate without really an exclamation. Or am I wrong on that?
no, they gave us somewhat explanation. I forget what it was. It's been a long time since I watched that first episode, but you know,
They don't really explore it. I don't know. I just refuse to watch it. It's weird, and it's too vanilla. That's sort of the reason I gave before. I thought like some of the monsters were like, just why?
Why is there a centaur?
Yeah, I feel like they could have been more creative. They kind of just went with the generic ones that everyone has already heard of.
Centaur, Harpy, Lamia. Lamia.
Centaur.
Well, okay. Think about like Spider Girl and Lamia, right?
Uh-huh.
First of all, there's Dark Souls. Second of all, if anyone's played League, there's those two characters are basically in the game. There's a Spider Girl and a Snake Girl.
Which you probably played.
Yeah. It's sort of character types that you've seen before that they kind of bring into this. It's not as like unique, which I guess I personally enjoy more when it comes to like Monster Girls and stuff. Like I enjoy seeing unique character designs and kind of what they came up with, which is sort of why I like the Spider Girl. She was one of the more unique characters. And at least the Fish Girl wasn't just a pure mermaid. She had like spikes and stuff on her, which I found kind of interesting. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
Dawson, what did you think of the first episode?
I mean, yeah, I only watched that first episode, but I enjoyed what I saw.
You just decided.
I
not
just
to pick
didn't
up.
feel like I wanted to watch more. I mean, I think it's because
it wasn't really for you.
Yeah, it just wasn't a show designed for me.
But like the
it
popsicle
seemed somewhat
scene.
Interesting. And did it have many have done a popsicle scene?
Know.
Many an anime have
To Love
had a
Ru.
popsicle scene. Yeah, To Love Rose being the most famous.
Did they have a jerking off a snake's tail scene though?
That it started with that. That's how we started our first episode.
I know, but do other animes have that?
On that, actually, I am not sure.
I'm
pretty sure none others.
And even
do.
if we've seen something, I don't think we want to admit that.
Nor talk about it.
But with that, that's our wrap up.